Olá! Hoje a gente tem aqui no Brasil, no nosso escritório da Ipsos em Pinheiro, São Paulo, uma visita muito especial de quem lidera a iniciativa de ESG da Ipsos globalmente. Who is here with us today is Sue Phillips. Thank you so much for being here.
It's a pleasure. Lovely to be here.
Is this your first time in Brazil?
No, I've been in Brazil, Sao Paulo, a number of times before, and about 10 years ago, though, was the last time. So it's great to be back. The country has changed. And Sao Paulo I've been to, but this was my first trip to Rio.
And you've just been in Rio with a very, very interesting pre-COP30 initiative, right?
Yes, absolutely. So we've been partnering with the Institute for Real Growth. Humanized growth in marketing is their mission, and we worked with them on a CMO CSO playbook. So those two roles, very important roles in organizations, the Chief Marketing Officer and the Chief Sustainability Officer, but they don't work so closely together. So this playbook was to understand how we can bridge the gap between those two roles to bring greater sustainability to organizations.
I saw the material, it's fantastic, and really we are going to share with our audience here, if you don't mind.
Absolutely, no.
Let's have the link.
Yes, definitely.
Wonderful. I would love if you could start telling us what exactly your role entails.
Okay. So it's head of ESG or head of sustainability. The two terms are used pretty interchangeably by many organizations. But it's three roles rolled into one. The first is I call impact on clients. So Ipsos delivers market research, insights to our clients to help them on their sustainability journey. So their goal is to bring value from all those sustainability initiatives they are taking to their business and to their consumer. So we can help them understand how they can do that via our insights.
Okay.
So that's the first area. The second area is inform. So Ipsos also produces an awful lot of information we have a 50,000 global advisor panel. We ask them questions every month. And then as a result of that, we can release data on our Earth Day report, which is people and climate change. On International Women's Day, we do a big report on gender across the world. And in June, we always release a Pride report. So we do a lot of research that is on the topic of sustainability. And so we want to make sure as many people know what's happening in the world as we can.
Cool.
And then there's a third area, which is Ipsos's responsibility to make sure we are taking our own actions to reduce our carbon footprint. We're a service company. We're not a big manufacturer, so we have a different profile, but we still have to reduce our emissions because our clients expect it. We are part of our client's supply chain, and they want us to make sure we're on the journey with them to reduce emissions. Gender balance is very important to us. We take that very seriously at Ipsos. We have had good results, improvements over the last 10 years. We're now 50% at our second level and 40% women at our highest level, so made very good progress there. So there are a number of those initiatives that I also lead on.
Nice. It's very comprehensive in the sense that it's not only our internal world, but it's pretty much everything.
Yes.
I'd love to hear your thoughts about what's the current state of ESG concerns, particularly within the corporations. I mean, our clients are large brands throughout the world, and you are possibly better suited to tell what's going on with them than anyone else.
Yes. So we know from the work that we've done with our ESG Council, for example, so they are ESG leaders, they have said, 90% of them say actually, that ESG has transformed the way they do business.
Oh.
So there is no doubt that the sustainability initiatives that companies have been taking over the last few years, whether it's on water stewardship, plastic reduction, changing the way they use energy to renewables, etc., those initiatives are continuing because that is the way they will be sustainable and able to operate in the future. So it's almost a business imperative for them to continue. What has changed is how people are talking about it, and perhaps rather than doing lots of initiatives, they've perhaps scaled down some of the initiatives. So we also heard in our most recent Reputation Council report that 75%, 3/4 of communications directors have said that their companies are pulling back on some of their ESG initiatives. So I kind of think it's moving a bit from morality, which is this was the right thing to do, to materiality. These are the things that really matter. So that's what's happening in terms of what companies are doing. But what has changed is how they're talking about it, or whether they're actually talking about it at all. And so we know that, and the report we did, our Reputation Council report, sort of in 2 words summed it up very nicely. They said it's strategic silence is what's been happening in 2025. They know that this can be a potentially toxic area, can get you into trouble from different political parties, it can get you in trouble from consumers. So they actually just continue quietly doing the things they've been doing, but perhaps not talking about it as vociferously as they did in the past.
And that's very different from a recent past, right?
Yeah.
I mean, in where we probably thought that speaking about issues, social issues in particular, were inevitable, right?
Yeah.
They were things that a brand was supposed to do.
Exactly.
No longer...
It's something you should be proud about. You know, you're making initiatives to protect biodiversity loss, or to make sure that underrepresented communities have now got equal opportunities to others. Why wouldn't a company want to talk about that?
Does that mean a lack of a reduced power of the ESG topic? Is this less relevant for people overall and consumers in particular?
Yeah. So I think for consumers, employees definitely very, very important. Consumers, three-quarters of consumers across the world believe that we are heading for environmental disaster if we don't change our habits. They acknowledge that.
I think in Brazil this number is even higher.
It is even higher. Yeah. It's over 80%. You're absolutely right. But we also know 71% of those consumers say they're already doing all they can. So there is this gap between what I think is important and what I'm able to do. So for consumers, it continues to be an issue they're concerned about, but feeling a lack of agency to actually do anything about. And there is also some cynicism that's occurred over the last few years from greenwashing. Companies have been saying they've been doing things, but they perhaps haven't, or they've been trying to trick consumers into buying things because they're green and they're not. And this has led to some consumers being quite cynical about the topic and untrustworthy. And there's also some confusion. It is not an easy area to communicate. It's not easy to get simple messages across. Companies often talk about things like being carbon neutral or certified organic, and that means nothing to people. The way to bring people in is to talk about things that are important to them. So that's where the challenge is.
You're painting an incredibly complex picture here. I mean, full of tensions and full of dualities of behavior, of beliefs, both from authorities and the people themselves. I'm wondering, how can you help brands and corporations go through that?
Yeah. So I think there's a number of things we can do. I think, as with all good starting points, is to really understand where people are at on this journey, and not just listen to what they say, but really try and focus on what the behaviour change is needed, and how we can start helping people to move rather than just stay the same. So. I think that's getting to the fundamentals of what is really important to people, and then with brands and businesses, what is in the brand that can connect with what the consumer needs, that is sustainable. So there's no point in if you're a banking brand planting trees. Why would you do that? That doesn't have relevance to the brand. But connect with something that's meaningful, like helping the unbanked become much more financially aware and stable is a much more relevant way of connecting. So it's understanding where the need is, what fits with your category, and obviously what fits with your brand. So then it feels just like part of a core brand promise rather than something that's a tag on.
Pushed and forced upon.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. And you mentioned the materiality earlier in this talk, and I was wondering how can a company go about to achieve this material, to make it relevant and to make it good for their business, but also a part of the whole brand positioning, as you're saying? So
I think it's I think all companies have their own priorities. So they will have identified their 3 or 4 sustainability pillars because they are material to making sure they survive in the future. But then which one do I select to bring to the consumer? And so, you know, there's been some beer brands, for example. I know there's a beer brand in Africa where it's called a White Cap, actually, and they have this beautiful mountain with an ice cap on it. Unfortunately, the ice cap's melting. And so they actually started to talk more about their investment in water and water stewardship and how they were protecting that. And actually, it was then embedded into the brand's value because they realized that it was something important to the consumer, obviously, and to protect water, but it's also connected with the brand and its value. So I think it's really identifying what your sustainability priority is and then connecting that to the brand. And
That's
its
a great
value.
example because
Yeah.
it's real,
Yeah.
it's close to the brand, and it's relevant to
Yes,
the people,
yeah.
which is probably...
Exactly.
So the whole reframing here
Yeah.
seems to be...
And I like what you said there about it being real, because there is so much blah blah about the topic,
Right.
and it's confusing, and it's actually not particularly interesting to many people because they don't necessarily engage with even something as important as the planet. It is not affecting me and my family right now and right here, and that's what is important to people. It's too distant a concept, and it's also too difficult a concept for somebody to feel, I can do something about that. So the more real you can make it in people's lives, I think the more that likely they're going to connect with it.
This is a great recommendation. Thank you so much for talking to us, Sue.
Pleasure. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much for having me.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.